about how would you we will go towards extinction, and how would you increase the fertility rate, and you offered a solution that you can only impose these policies by war. Like, I mean, you literally want to beat people up and invade a country and
That's
tell
not
them
what I
to
said.
have sex and make more babies.
No, that's not what I said.
So what did you say? So I want to understand. I don't strong man. When
Islam
you say that you have to impose,
Islam has
yeah.
these policies, right? In the Sharia, you can't have premarital sex. You can't have extramarital sex. You have modesty. You have gender separation. You encourage Muslims to marry young and have children and be fertile. Those are all policies within the Sharia that, when people abide by them, there is higher fertility. You have stronger families. You have healthier societies because of that. That was the argument. It's not
Yeah.
going to war.
No, but you implied that. How you asked me a question? How am I going to apply that in the
Yeah.
Western world where fertility rates are falling? So you
What
you
policy?
didn't say that.
What policy are you going to institute that will increase
What
fertility
policy?
rate?
Well, first of all, immigration is the one good policy, and we can always
Bringing in
get
Muslims
people
from other countries?
Well, there are a lot of Indian and Chinese too, so I would prefer them first. But no, Muslims
So that
are fine
means
as
that
well.
the
Muslims
people here are
Muslims
going to
good
go
people.
extinct.
Muslims are good people. No, that's not even the case. I mean, for example, Australia pumped up the fertility rate back in the early 2010s by giving out baby bonuses. So you get $10,000 check if you make more babies.
So you're
Okay, so I didn't respond to this in the live debate. I just was getting on another point. But he says baby bonuses. So governments in the West are where they're literally begging people to have babies. They're giving these incentives. So it can be like a baby bonus. Like for each baby you get $5,000. Or tax breaks. Like you get less of your taxes. You have to give less taxes because you have more children. These kinds of incentives that are found in all of these Western countries for having children. But where are the governments getting the money for these bonuses? These countries have to increase the tax rate in order to fund the bonuses, right? So everyone's taxes in the country are increased by force. You have to pay the taxes, the increased tax rate, in order to fund the baby bonuses. So people's personal, individual freedom is infringed upon, or increasingly infringed upon, because they have to pay more taxes. So more of your property is taken by force by the state, right? So what he has proposed is exactly my point, right? You have to limit the individual liberties of people, because there are people in the US and in these countries, they don't want babies and they don't care about other people having babies. They want to just be bachelors for the rest of their lives, no children. But I have to pay more taxes to fund other people's babies? Why? I don't want to do that. I want to keep my money as much as possible, and I want the government to focus its money on things that I support. I don't want my individual liberty infringed with these tax policies to fund babies. I don't agree with that. But what does the government say? The government says that, look, we have to have this tax policy to encourage childbirth and fertility, otherwise we're going to go extinct. So we have to limit your individual liberty in order to support the greater good, right? To support families. And that's the argument, right? So basically, that there's nothing that he could propose. Baby bonuses, immigration, I mean, that was laughable. bring immigrants into the country. Stupid suggestion by Harris, as you all recognize in the actual live debate. But even this baby bonus idea or taxation idea, it's still going to limit individual liberty. There's no way around it. You have to coerce people. Anytime you coerce people to abide by a policy, it's going to limit their individual liberty. And that's how all societies are, except Islam is honest about it. Islam is honest about its coercive nature. And it's also a better system because the policies within the Sharia are organic. Right? Islam, the Sharia encourages family because of all of those things I mentioned. Birr al-walidain, being good to your parents, taking care of your parents. Silat al-rahim, maintaining family bonds and connections. You're not allowed in Islam to cut off your family member. Say, I don't like this uncle of mine, so I'm never going to talk to him again. he's dead to me. You can't say that in Islam. That's actually considered a major sin. Again, you can have abusive family members, and you deal with that. Your family deals with that. But just to cut them off entirely and say, you're dead to me, I'm not going to, maintain any of the rights that I owe you because you're a part of my family. There are rights and there's duties, as I mentioned before. This is what keeps families strong and integrated and stable. These are all policies within the Sharia, right? That maintain, it's organic. It's underwritten by human nature, by human psychology. Unlike a baby bonus that the government, the bureaucratic state, will dole out whenever it wants, arbitrarily sometimes too, because one year they have the policy, the next year they don't. They have to modify it with these bureaucrats. It's an ugly system, but that's the kind of ugly system that you have to have when you've destroyed all organic institutions in society, other than having this Leviathan state dominating everyone. So Islam is superior. Islam is the solution. Islam is superior. Inshallah, we can talk all day. It's getting close to 7 hours. I need to go make sure that I pray Asr. So I still have a little bit of time, but we can talk all day about this.
The policy of immigration relies on Islam, right? You haven't given a policy.
Not necessarily.
Because it's Islam's higher fertility, or Chinese, or any of these traditional societies.
Or Indians.
Yeah.
That's
You're relying
fine.
on Islam. So you've just deferred the argument. You haven't introduced a policy that will increase the population,
baby bonus,
the fertility
$10,000.
in the indigenous population. So you haven't really introduced the problem that you're having is you can't introduce any policy because it will restrict individual freedom. That's why you're stuck.
Okay, so again, let me tell you. Let me go back to Pew again. Because, as I said, it's got nothing to do with actually not wanting to make families or whatever. It might have some part to do with it, but it's got more to do with the improving economic standards. And that's why I said Muslim birth rates are also going down. Muslims' birth rates are also going down.
It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. It shows exactly why development and modernization and human rights is a bad thing. That's my entire point.
So let's stop going to work. Let's stop making money. That's your solution. So we can just stay home and make more babies.
No, that's not.
It is just one of the side effects of that, and humanity will come up with a better solution. Who knows what humanity 2.0 might be like? Who knows? We might be actually making babies in labs, or maybe we might not even need to keep increasing our humanity because we would be living 1,000 years longer. So we don't know.
Making babies in labs, that's his solution. So he perfectly demonstrated what I was saying about liberalism leading to transhumanism and the end of humanity. Okay? End motherhood. Just make babies in labs. Or maybe people will live 1,000 years. Okay? How? Through different kinds of drugs, different types of modifications genetically and in terms of their bodies, maybe cyborgs. This is the end he's proposing. He's perfectly demonstrating exactly the argument here.
Know that these are the problems that will come even later, and we'll come up with newer solutions, and we would have more solutions.
If we survive.
You can't understand that because we will survive. Of course, we're not going anywhere. The birth rate is still going up everywhere else.
No, you just said it's not going up. You said it's going down everywhere.
No, the global birth rate is still going up.
You just said it's going down.
2060. I said 2060 in my opening statement. I said by 2060 it would start falling down even for Muslims as well, and by the end of the century it would hit a critical mass of 10 billion, and then it would start going down.
Your stats are all wrong.
So if it reaches a critical mass, let's say, taking his argument to its logical conclusion, it reaches a critical mass at some date in the future, and then it starts decreasing. If it starts decreasing, what's going to stop that plummet of people, of the population? What is going to stop that? And he acknowledged, we'll figure something out. We just have to hope that this global disaster that we've created because of our liberal policies, we'll just figure it out at that point. So I think Harris is a procrastinator. He likes to procrastinate on all these issues like existential crisis, the extinction of the human race. We'll figure it out. In 60 years and 70 years, when there's this crash where humanity is plummeting towards extinction, we'll figure something out. But my point being that when you figure something out, it will have to be by force. The government will have to implement probably this brutal totalitarian regime to make sure people are reproducing, or they have babies in labs, or they have this dystopian nightmare that they have to bring in to save the human race from extinction. But what got you to that point of complete dominance and coercion and force by this muscular surveillance state is these policies that you're advocating for today. So you've just kind of shifted the burden to the future.
The birth rates are going
they're
down.
right.
They're going down consistently, even in the Muslim world. The Muslim world, the fertility is going down. It's a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
And by 2060, what you actually cited was that Muslims. I didn't.
It's a bad thing. Like he tweeted this after the fact. He tweeted and he said it's an own goal. Like what is he talking about? This picture. I acknowledge that. Yeah, the birth rates are going down in the Muslim world too. That's the problem. Muslims influenced by feminism. Muslim women thinking, I don't need to get married. I'm a strong, independent Muslimah with my turban, hijab. I'm going to go get my degree and PhD. I'm a PhD. That's the problem. It's happening in the Muslim world too. So right now we have higher birth rates in the Muslim world, but it's plummeting. It's the same problem. We're getting below. Like Qatar here is below replacement levels. So this is not a good thing, Harris. How is this an own goal to point this out? But the cause of it is maximizing individual liberty. Because women are saying, I want to pursue my dreams. I want to pursue my goals. Even though their biology and their nature wants them to have children and be mothers. They're driven to that. But they've been brainwashed by the secular system.
Remember what you cited, but all of the fertility rates are going down consistently across the world, and it's because of human rights modernization. Islam is saying that family is important. That's why you have to restrict individual autonomy with these kinds of rules I mentioned in the Sharia, and that's for the benefit of humanity because you're not going to go extinct. You're not going to
So what should we have?
Replacement levels fertility, and you can't give
So
me
Daniel, what should we have?
You can't show me
What
how
should we
human
have,
right. Sharia, that's what you should have.
No. But what's the ideal? What's the ideal number for the planet we should have? Like 10 billion, 9 billion, 8 billion, maybe 4 billion, reducing the sizes of economy and our footprint. What would be the better one?
We should have strong, stable families that a child can be in a family surrounded by loving family members. His father, his wife, maybe a co-wife, cousins, aunts, uncles. All that's a beautiful, stable family. Very high fertility. This is the beautiful example of family life that Islam promotes. What does human rights promote? Human rights promotes a child with his single mother just going to school and falling into drugs and mental health problems. That's what human rights offers the world. And we see that with the numbers, we see that with all the stats that I gave you, and you have no response to that.
I've given you a response. I've given you more nuanced response, and you're not understanding that because these are the 21st century. That would be the latter part of the 21st century problem, and we'll come up with a solution. What you're saying, you can't give me a reason. What you're saying, you're basing that.
One sec, just to hear from Harris.
You're basing that family life is important because it gives a higher fertility rate. Higher fertility rate means increasing population.
So he's just hyper focused on fertility, but he ignores the problem of household size, for example. Household size, that's a major problem too, because it leads to all kinds of problems statistically and demographically, as explained, but even on a personal level. I try to explain to him that, look, people are suffering. Humans are not meant to live these isolated lives, these institutionalized lives. What Islam offers is such a beautiful alternative, and what humanity deserves and what humanity will flourish under is that system, not these small households where people are being raised by strangers oftentimes. Might as well be a stranger because parents can't really see their children. Parents have no influence on their children. Parents can't decide, I want my child not to accept these values. I want my child to accept these values. I want my child to grow up in this way, not that way. They have no control on any of that. There's no authority in the family because you've destroyed patriarchy. You've destroyed the hierarchy within that system, abolishing the family for good. So this is... Harris is not conversant with any of this.
When I ask you what is the ideal population for the planet, you don't know that. You say, well, then you backtrack and then you say, no.
How can you know that? How can anyone know the ideal population for the planet? How can anyone know that?
No. Human forecasters have actually said that over 10 billion people, the planet would not be able to handle it.
10 billion people, so what?
So
it's the same human forecasters, by the way, who have, the same bureaucrats who have allowed this to happen, right? These same economists and social policy think tanks, their policies and their genius has led to this. Okay, these are the people that Harris relies on.
okay, so 10 billion. So what happens then after 10 billion? You guys would start, if he lets you have your way, you'd be like, no, 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 we want to have the same family system and we want to make 20 babies still. So then we'll go from 10 billion to 15
No,
billion. So I
Islam
can
is
go
not
that way
like
as
that.
well.
If there is a situation that requires overall maslahah, okay, are you
right.
aware of this, Harris? Do you have any
Right.
knowledge of
I am-
Islam? There's something called
I'm
communal
gonna
decision making.
ask
If
you,
there are pressing global challenges or there are pressing problems, the imams and the sharia can accommodate that. It's called maslahah, it's called maqasid al-sharia. These are things that are found in Islam. It's a very nuanced system that you have no appreciation of. That's why you're constantly straw manning. Look, your future is
Well,
future
for very
of
good reason.
people watching Netflix at home alone, masturbating and ordering Uber Eats. That's your vision of the future, Harris. And you haven't proposed a single thing consistent with human rights that actually counters that.